Hello. Well, I am out on my own, well within the bounds of social distancing. I've set myself a photographic challenge this morning. I've come up here into the bush. I'm carrying a camera body and my 70 to 200 millimeter reasonably long lens and a polarizing filter. I've left it way too late in the day. It's bright blue skies. I've got a large ant crawling across the camera, which may or may not go across the lens. There it goes. Look, whee! For all you wildlife phobes, that's going to terrify you. It's just an ant, a big ant. Yeah, so I'm going to see what picture I can get and hopefully sort of give you some tips along the way. I've got to set myself a challenge I may not be able to reach, but let's keep our fingers crossed as we walk around the Nogra Dam here, and hopefully you'll find some wildlife or some nice scenes, and yeah, and hopefully give you a few tips along the way. If not, at least get some nice photos. Okay, I'll catch up with you soon. Well, no sooner do I mention hopefully getting some wildlife photography as I come across this snake-like procession of hairy caterpillars. We see these from time to time, and they're pretty impressive. Not sure where they've come from or where they're going, but difficult to photograph. Small on the ground and long, and not a snake, which is good. Yeah, amazing creatures. So the issue with shooting caterpillar chain, like I've just shown you, is that you're looking at really at depth of field. So you want to make sure that you're not shooting at too big an aperture, which reduces that depth of field, because effectively what you'll end up with is just the front caterpillar in focus, and then pretty much everything behind that blurred, which is not what you want. So initially I did a demonstration in f2.8, which is a very large aperture, and shows that that point. And then I basically reduced the size of the aperture to try and get more of that train in focus. The other trick on top of that is to try and get down low. I always talk about not standing at this height and photography everything from your height. But in that case, I was laying on the ground, as uncomfortable as that might be. And that way you get a much better perspective, and you know, you've got a slightly more dramatic shot. So a beautiful lace monitor lizard has just climbed up this tree behind me here. Got a couple of quick shots, but I'm going to try and get a couple more. He's completely still against the branch of the eucalypt, and pretty amazing. Not a very big one. They can get quite big. This one's about 700 mil, not quite a metre, I don't think. So, but yeah, really beautiful. So I've come across this clearing sort of 2/3 of the way around the walk I'm doing. This is a beautiful little spot with lots of lovely grass going right into the dam and the dam behind. As I said earlier, I've left it a bit too late really because the light's quite harsh. I did bring a polarizing filter, which is the only chance I've got of getting a halfway decent shot here. But it's I'll give it a go. I've got to be reasonably quick. There are actually there is a family of golden orb spiders about half a metre above my head, so I should be okay unless I put a large pole up or jump up and down in the air. Let's get the camera out and see what we can come up with, if anything. So that was the orb spider looking down at me. Managed to keep well away from that. Now, let's crack on. So this is the gear I've got with me. It's my Canon 5D Mark III with a 70-200 f2.8 lens and a polarizing filter. I didn't come out with a tripod. I deliberately try and limit what I come out with sometimes. As much as a tripod would be great, I've got to carry it, that's one thing. I could have come with a wide angle lens that would give me a lot more alternatives and options with regard to these sort of vistas, but sometimes it's good to discipline yourself to just bring one lens and force yourself to hand hold. It creates problems, but it also forces you to think about your compositions and the technical stuff more clearly. So let's see what we can get out of this shot, if anything, and I'll share some tips along the way. So here we are. So yeah, so look, the scene's not ideal, and this is what happens with landscape photography sometimes, especially when you come out in a broad daylight. It's probably about 9 o'clock now or something, I'm not sure. So it's way too late, the sun's too bright in the sky. And you know, sometimes coming out and not taking the picture is the way to do. These places look beautiful and stunning. Don't always need the photo, doesn't always work. But in this particular image, the area has a wide shot. Really, there's too much going on, too many greens, no real sort of concept in there that I like as a composition. But what I have done is crop it in, which is where there's a slight S bend in the offshoot from the creek that's going back into the main dam body, and I've taken a sort of square, or I'm looking at a square crop of that image, and try and highlight the sort of the leading line through the middle of the composition in the hope of getting something that's acceptable. Yeah, so we'll let's have a look how that turned out. Okay, well, I've pretty much reached the end of my little walk around the dam. I've just got the dreaded hill to go up over there, which is very steep and a cruel way to finish this walk. Look, hope you've enjoyed some of the things that I've shown you in my little couple of hours on my own around the dam. I'm going to be trying to do these things regularly, giving some new tips. I'm just getting used to it, if you like, so hopefully things will get better on the production front. But if you've got any questions at all about photography, the technical aspects, composition in particular, I love the composition side of things. Look, I'll be only too glad to help. Obviously, we're all a bit isolated at the moment, so if you've got some time on your hands and you want to learn photography, or understand your camera more, or get the more out of it, then I'd be glad to come along on that journey with you and help whatever way I can. Okay, so if you guys got any questions, just write them down in the comments or private message me, and I'll do my best to answer each and every one of them. In the meantime, stay safe. The dam behind me is completely empty. They've shut that down to swimming and boats in the last 24 hours, so it's very sad. But it's still a beautiful part of the world, and hopefully I can get out and about on my own and show you some of it, and then give you a few tips and tricks. All right, guys, you stay safe, and I'll speak to you soon.